Everybody's talking, but not Saturn. He's just watching, looming, discerning. What do you think that means? Well, let's talk about it. My name is Tigris, I am the Sky Witch, and I love talking everything stars and magic. So if that's your jam, make sure to hit that follow button, and let's get talking about what's happening in the stars right now. Wow, July is a heavy month. And part of that has to do with the fact that over the next 2 weeks, we have 4 planets in 4 different signs coming up with a perfect, beautiful alignment at 4 degrees in each of their respective signs. And this doesn't happen for outer planets very often. It is a constructive conversation, but it is an intense conversation. It is a heavy conversation. It is the kind of conversation that changes things. And you know what? Saturn's not part of this conversation. Saturn, king of world order, is just watching. Now, Neptune is part of the conversation at 4 degrees of Aries, and Saturn is also in Aries at this time. And so Saturn has like a really good look at everything. It's like if this was a Zoom conference and Pluto, Uranus, Jupiter, and Neptune were all like on their computers and we were having this conversation here in the camera, then Saturn would be kind of like booming in the corner of Neptune's screen, watching and listening to what's happening, but not being part of the conversation. And we can see that as a good or bad thing. Saturn itself is about foundation. In the last several months, we have absolutely been feeling like we have been flooded away from all sorts of security and structure that we've had. Like we felt that we had these different things in place, and then Neptune and Saturn came together and flooding just happened. And where I live, it actually turned into a literal flooding. And there's a lot of rebuilding that has to come after that initial flood time. And Saturn is what has to rebuild that structure. Saturn is that foundation. It is the framework, and then it is the wall of architectural growth and development. And you have to start with the foundation. You can't start with the wall and then put a foundation in. So each of these steps are a methodical process that comes with Saturn. And as he's witnessing what is being conversed between these other 4 planets, it is Saturn's role to process and consider, all right, based on this information that is coming to me, these things are going to be happening over the next several years. Yes, years. Because these are outer planets. The fastest of these planets is Jupiter. Jupiter takes about 1 year to move through each sign. Pluto is going to be in Aquarius until 2044. It is a slow-moving planet. And so everything that's being discussed here, everything that's being witnessed here, everything that's being considered here is what is the long-term play. If I am going to do all the things that I want to do in these future years, let's say we're like future forward planning 5-10 years. We get to the end of 5 years, Neptune is still in Aries, Uranus is still in Gemini, Pluto is still in Aquarius. We get to the next 10 years, Uranus has moved on, but Neptune and Pluto are still there. We get to the end of 15 years, finally Neptune's going to be moving into Taurus. Pluto will still be there in Aquarius. So long-term planning, long-term conversations are happening here. And it's probably hard to look at it from that perspective because the energy of July is like chaos, monster, throw your life around tower moments. And it is very hard to have the capacity to consider what else you need to do and what else you need to grow and plant when you're just trying to survive the flood in the first place. We had literal flooding here, and when it was like day 2 or 3 after the flood, like the whole town flooded, and people were starting to get upset because they wanted to know what is going to happen to prevent this flooding in the future. This is actually the third year that there have been floods in a lot of houses, and we learned the reason why and whatever, but they wanted answers now. And part of the response to that was like, well, can we please finish navigating the disaster that's currently happening before we start thinking about how to prevent a similar future? We can definitely keep track of things that we've learned through this process so we can plan going forward, but we have to finish getting through this shit before we can start thinking about forward prevention. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We're getting through the shit, and yet the conversation is still happening. And Saturn is watching. Saturn is witnessing. He is taking everything that is around us and saying, what can I do with this as I determine what I want to build next? And what this means for you really depends on where Aries is in your chart, because your chart gets broken into these little pie pieces, and each pie piece represents a different area of your life. And so if Aries represents your sense of self versus your working situation versus your schooling, like different things would have been flooded and destroyed. Different things are being kind of like looked at and picked at and deciphered. It's hard to know what you want to do 5 to 10 years from now, especially given the whole like world structure that we're operating in right now. We're meant from the powers to be in a position where we just survive. But humanity isn't about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about having this experience and doing what we can to move forward in our purpose and to offer compassion and service and love and kindness to one another. We don't live like that, but that is where we would get to if we didn't have powers twisting us into smaller versions of ourselves. Here is a time, an opportunity. I know it's hard to make the space for it, but in these few weeks, really pay attention. If you want to build your karma, if you want to build your future, if you want a foundation that you feel sturdy and stable on, then it is time. It is time to pay attention to the information around you so that you can start making new choices, different choices, so that you can discern whether or not something is good for you. And then start placing that foundation and start building that framework and start putting in that drywall based on what you've learned. Because if you build all of that based on what you are surviving, you're just creating more of a survival situation. Stop, look, listen, consider, determine what we can do moving forward. I want to talk really quickly, I don't have a lot of time left, but Mercury right now is retrograde, and that's like a big thing. It's in the sign of Cancer, and it's causing us to have a lot of feelings. And so when I talk about what you're listening and learning to, I really want you to think about those feelings that have been coming up since like mid-June. The feelings that have coming up, the experiences that have been coming up that have created more feelings. Feelings are information. They are not facts, but they are information. And so all of this stuff that's coming up with Mercury, it's coming into a square with this Saturn, who's, again, saying nothing in the conference. But now he has the opportunity to have a quick conversation with Mercury. And it's a difficult conversation. It's a something's got to give, something's got to change confirmation. Mercury has the information to give to Saturn. Saturn is able to witness the conversation that's happening through Neptune and consider what it needs to do. 2 days after Mercury stations direct and starts moving forward, Saturn actually stations retrograde and starts moving backwards. It's the passing of information Because now what's going to happen is everything that we learned about those feelings with Mercury in retrograde, we're going to start moving forward and start piecing things back together. But we are also going to start thinking about it at a deeper, more karmic, more structured, foundational, long-term level. And we're going to have to really think about what works in our life and what doesn't work in our life. And how can we build new foundation, new structure, new framework in a way that gets us to where we want to be on our long-term journey. Even if it means destroying something. Because sometimes things have to crumble in order for us to see the direction that we need to go so that we may grow and flourish. Saturn Daddy has all sorts of wisdom to us. I hope that he's good to you. Take a moment, sit down and listen. I'm Tigris the Sky Witch and we talk astrology. If you like this video, make sure to like, share, and comment. I want to know what your rising sign is so that we can see where this is in your chart. So drop that in the comments and of course hit the follow button if you want more of me. I love you so much. Have a great day.